Welcome into the NOVUS CrownCast. It's Chris Honorado, and we are doing round two of Section 2 High School Football Champions. Cool to catch up with Fonda Fultonville a couple weeks ago, and now Stillwater, and a second Section 2 title for our guy, Ian Godfrey, the head coach there. Coach, it's good to see you, man, always. Where are we right now? Take us into the classroom a little bit.
Hey, Chris. So you are in Stillwater Middle School. You are in
man.
the seventh grade classroom. So we got a whole mix of things going on back here. But yeah.
I love it. I love it. And it just further highlights that coaches are not just coaches, certainly at the high school level. But congrats on the season. I said it, second Section 2 title for you.
Yep.
2019 and now 2023, but the first time this program ever got to a state championship game, right? We'll kind of, dissect it a little bit, but just on the surface, Ian, what does that mean to you and your group to have been able to do that?
Yeah. I mean, now that a few weeks have passed, I mean, people still come up and talk to me about it, about how wonderful of a year it was. What a great run. For me, I mean, personally, I've said it before, it was a dream come true. I mean, I grew up, I was a year away when Fort Edward went to the Carrier Dome back in 2000. I was in eighth grade, unfortunately, so I didn't get the chance. But it was my dream to get back as either a player or a coach. So to get there this year, and with these kids especially, I mean, the story is pretty well told at this point. But the amount of injuries that they had to overcome, the adversity throughout the year. We weren't the one seed. We were the only section to win, or the only team to win it that wasn't the one seed. So to be able to do that, I think just speaks volumes to these kids and the coaching staff. And, I'm just super proud to represent them as head coach.
You got a little bit of payback in that Section 2 title game, right? And obviously that regular season game and then the championship game, wildly different because of some of the guys you were missing.
Yeah.
But give us a little bit of an idea of how you've been able to build this program the way you have. You said just finished up your 8th year as the head coach there, taking this program to heights it has never seen before. What did it take to do that? And even just from like a coaching standpoint, but also from a buy-in standpoint.
Yeah, no, I think the answer is certainly simple, but it's certainly complicated because you have to have so many things in place. I mean, the first thing walking into Stillwater is you have to have the infrastructure. You have to have the infrastructure. You have to have the space to win. You have to have the weight room. You have to have the support of your athletic director, your principal, your superintendent, your board. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you don't have those things, it's really challenging to win and win consistently. I think for me, the most important thing that I could have ever done was hire my staff. And I think bringing in the right people around you is probably the most important thing you can do as a leader. Dave Cook, who's my offensive coordinator, is one of my best friends outside of here. And Joe Cacuzo coming on board, Matt Lesko, just to name a few of these guys that have been there for 8 years. It starts there. It starts with the guys that you bring in and the type of culture that you're going to create and cultivate is based on that. So, you start from there. And luckily enough for me, I walked into Stillwater at a wonderful time where we were willing to invest in our athletics. We had a really great group of athletes coming up through. The youth program was starting to get kids interested, and so all the timing certainly plays a factor and all of those things. So for me, I think the most important thing that I've done is create a staff and therefore a culture that are all kind of focused.
What's more satisfying, success as a player, which obviously you had, or as a coach?
Boy, that's a really great question. I mean, I still feel like sometimes I can play, but it never goes away. Even when I'm playing YMCA over 30 league, I'm still trying to play as hard as I can. But I would definitely say as a coach, it's such a different vantage point and viewpoint. Obviously, as opposed to a player, it amazes me that these kids go out and do what they do and had the fortitude to win the way they won. But certainly as a coach, for me, it's the most rewarding to see the kids just kind of do what they do best and feel the community and all those kind of things. I mean, that's something you don't get anywhere else.
It's funny. I had never really thought about it until I asked the question. We're having this conversation. That's why I love doing this podcast, because it gives me time and space with people like you to get answers and perspective like that. And as I'm listening to you answer that question, I'm thinking, Yeah, makes sense because I think we all grow to appreciate things more the older we get, the more life we have behind us, the experiences we have in our past. Like when you're 16, 17 years old, it's not their fault, but I don't think you are able to appreciate
Right.
what's happening in the moment. And on top of that, you being the head coach now, you are the leader of how many kids as opposed to maybe being responsible for just the one route you need to run or the one block you need to execute, the tackle you need to make, that type of stuff, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And for me as well, the football coaching community in general has been, it's such a great kind of brotherhood, and I've gotten a lot of great advice and a lot of good perspective from people. Because when you're young and you're competitive, you want to win it all and you want to win it. And you just, sometimes you have to take a step back and appreciate kind of the process and the journey that you've taken and the things you're accomplishing. And, I've had a lot of people in my life who have made sure that I maintain that perspective, even as a 36-year-old, has been teaching for 15 years and coaching for upwards of almost 10. It's good to have that in your life.
So, okay, this is interesting to me. Anything in athletics, just on the surface, feels like it's going to be uber competitive.
Mhm.
But I've read quotes of yours in the past. It was either the Gazette or the Times Union. I don't remember now. But you referencing other coaches you called on in Section 2
Mm-hmm.
for their, I'll just say, perspective, experience, advice, however you want to term it.
Right.
And then them giving it to you. Like you use the word brotherhood. I would think it would be competitive where we're not necessarily maybe swapping secrets and stories, but
Yeah.
that's not the case, huh?
No, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying in all instances it's not. That's for sure. I mean, some people guard their secrets pretty well, and that's their prerogative. For me, if you're going to do this, if you want to win at all costs and you want to win alone, it's very lonely. It's a very lonely experience. And at the end of the day, yeah, obviously you want to compete, you want to win championships. But for me, I'd rather be respected. I'd rather have relationships that I've built, both in the district and outside of the district. Because also I never know where my life path is going to take me. And when you create those kind of connections with people, it kind of opens up more doors for you. And frankly, it's the right way to do it. Again, you can win a lot of ways. And if you want to win by yourself and you kind of want to do it at your own way, then that's your choice. But, when things go bad or when you need help, which we all do at some point, if you've burned those bridges or never made them in the first place, then it can be a really lonely and frankly can burn you out, that type of experience. So to have people that you can rely on, and not be afraid to ask for advice or help, or because eventually they kind of maybe just offer it up to you because they root for you.
Couple weeks ago, we talked with Mike Mancini, who I know is a buddy of yours.
Yeah.
Now that was a couple weeks ago, so you have the advantage of being a little more removed from the state championship than he was
Sure.
when we talked. But you could still see it on his face. I mean, there wasn't a smile he wanted to crack about getting there but not winning.
Yeah.
Do you have a different perspective, and is time the advantage that you have over that? What was it like to go from the highest of highs, reaching the dome where this Stillwater team has never been, to then the defeat you were handed by a program, by the way, okay, which is, you talk about dynasties, if that's even a word we use at the high school level.
Right.
Tioga is that.
Yeah, I mean, and first of all, kudos to Mike and Fonda. I was rooting for those guys the whole way. I mean, yeah, what a great job he's doing over there. He's really excited the program again. They had a great game. We watched the whole game. That was great. I mean, two good quarterbacks, good players overall. For us, I think it's a little bit different of a perspective. I mentioned earlier about timing, and unfortunately, our timing in the state championship was against Tioga as a bunch of seniors. You get a different time period against them, and maybe you got a shot, but they were about as well balanced as it gets. And, of course, I think as a head coach, you replay the game and you say, well, if this had gone differently, could it have changed? Because small school football is like that. The minute things snowball, they snowball, and you can't stop it. And is there a way to prevent that from happening? But, at the end of the day, I think it just kind of comes down to being excited that your kids got to experience it. I mean, there was a couple moments we got on the field, we had the luxury. We were the early game, so we were actually on the field before anybody. And that was a real cool moment for
What
our
was
kids.
that like to share that moment with your guys?
Yeah, it was like the movie Friday Night Lights, like it's just like
Yeah,
I felt like the
yeah.
music was playing and Peter Berg was doing the whole score, and I'm just out there looking around and taking pictures, and I mean, it felt like I was living in a movie or a TV show. So, I can only imagine what it felt like to a bunch of our kids who, got to play on that field.
You have a couple guys you need to replace. Um, how do you feel like you guys are positioned as a program? What's coming up behind them, and what is the culture like in terms of the pipeline of guys who want to be part of this winning culture you've created?
Yeah, I think it's the overall status of schools and small schools in particular. We have been fortunate. Our team has been pretty solid. Our numbers are really solid.
Good.
Which is great, and it speaks to the kids and their effort. Our enrollment's not as high as it always has been, but I think year after year, we kind of do a nice job as a coaching staff of kind of hitting the reset button. I mean, for me personally, the biggest thing I push with these kids is playing other sports. That helps them develop. And frankly, it's high school. Like, the odds of you going professional are zero. So go play sports, go have fun
Yeah.
and develop all of your skills. Because, a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing with us. So, we know we got a lot to replace. And we have some young kids that are excited. I got to think, there's nothing tangible I can show you, but I got to think
Yeah.
enthusiasm is at an all-time high. We went through the elementary and we're shaking all the kids' hands before we left, and you could feel it, and kids are wearing their flag football jerseys and, showing everybody. So, I got to think the kids this year have set a pretty high mark. And, if you're not motivated to want to play next year, then I don't know what's going to do it.
Obviously, a lot of what we talk about on this CrownCast is sports related. So I'm just curious from your perspective, what does playing sports, and if you want to speak specifically to football, go right ahead. What does it do for a young person?
Yeah. I mean, I am one of the biggest proponents of playing sports, of extracurriculars. And, I'm the football coach, but listen, if you want to play soccer or run cross country, like do that. Do that. It's only going to make you a better overall person. I mean, athletics aside, it's going to just kind of, create a character trait that a lot of people don't really have, and for me, I always push kids into playing multiple sports. I'm always looking for them to kind of be a well-rounded athlete, to try something. We have a really cool, offerings, I guess, for a small school. We have a lot of different programs. So for me personally, I'm kind of always making sure that kids are not only getting involved, but staying involved, trying something new. Never pressuring them, obviously, because that's how you push kids out. But for me, it's pretty much everything. We're talking sports, it's part of my life. It's how I grew up. I grew up in a small school, and right, wrong, or indifferent. That's kind of that's the same approach that I've taken, in my career here.
All right, dude, I see you rocking the gear. This is a novice. Is that a quarter zip or is that a full zip? What do you got?
It's the quarter zip, but it's like
Nice.
the windbreaker. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. What is it about the partnership that you've been able to develop here with Novice, Nick and Garrett and the entire team here, that just works for Stillwater? Why them? Because you could order through other avenues.
Sure.
Why them?
Well, first of all, last year when I had actually spoken to you, and then we reached out, I was in right away. I wanted to get down, take a look. Just first of all, they're just great guys, and it's funny, we actually had a mutual connection because I know they're Maine baseball guys, and my cousin actually graduated last year from Maine. He's playing in the San Francisco Giants farm system now, so it was kind of a cool little connection that we had right away. But I mean, their brand is genuine. It's unique. I mean, everywhere I go where I'm wearing Novus gear, people are like, "Where did you get that?" And that's all I can do is just keep repping the brand for them. And, their stuff speaks for itself. Even their uniforms are really high quality stuff. So, I'm super psyched that they allowed us to work with them. And, I get to wear my cool zips, and my wife, she loves hers too. So, I'm sure there's going to be more orders from Stillwater this year.
Well, their priority is relationships and being a local business, 518 guys.
Yep.
Being able to partner up with coaches and teams like yours is top for them. So listen, man, another great year. Boy, it's been too long. I can't believe it was 2019, but I'm thinking to myself, I remember freezing outside at one of your practices before the state tournament, or at least before the sectional final. I can't remember which, but you're doing a heck of a job, dude. It's been too long. I hope we run into each other sometime soon.
Me too. That sounds
all right,
good.
Ian. Best of luck, man. Be well. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 24.
Happy holidays, and thanks again.
Claim that crown, man.